Hey, hi, it's Katie. I'm giving you a presentation on the cultural shape of values in music and also the aesthetic form of the looks of things. And our genre that we chose was 70s and 80s rock music. The first slide says I will be talking about the race, the gender, the sexuality, and the classes of music. When it comes to race, in the 70s and 80s, a lot of Black Americans were like, they introduced reggae and rap and also rhythm and blues. So Run DMC, which is the group that is on my slide, they were the first group to ever have a rap song or rap album go platinum. They were turned down by many major labels before they were finally signed. The group grew up on the streets of Americans' Black inner cities. So, given that they were in the group of Hard Knocks, they decided to present a different style of music, which was rap. And it's based of having a hard beat with the singers partially singing and partially talking in rhythm. And it took a lot for people to get into it, but now it's boomed. With the women, it just depended on the style of music. Like Madonna, she branched out and sang very sexual music, sensual. She was comfortable with her body. In terms, the Bangles, who were in the early 80s, late 70s, they were a little bit more conservative. They were still a girls band, but they had a little bit modest clothing, and they were just there as far as like putting a lot of sexuality out there. It wasn't really that. So with Michael Jackson, I think he was an amazing artist. He adapted with the times. When he first started, he was 5 years old with Jackson 5 singing 70s styles music, and moved on into the 80s, continuing to change his style of music that adapted according to what the people wanted. When it comes to class, I'm not really sure if that really affected anything, because when you look at Run DMC, they came from a hard life and they still had success. Michael Jackson came from a gigantic family, but he was really the only one besides his sister that really branched out in the business of music. And Madonna, I believe her father was a priest, and she was all about being open with body and everything like that. So I don't think that class was really determined the style of music. It just all came into what the people wanted and what was popular, and what I think a lot of them just tried things out and see if their albums were sold. So next slide, please. Which goes on to the looks of things. The biggest thing that boomed when it came to the aesthetic look of things was MTV. It cost them $20 million to set up, and it was the channel was aired in 1981, which is the year I was born. Just a fun fact. It went from seeing albums on video, or you would see it as the videos that were watched were either promotional videos or you saw them in a commercial. They really didn't have a place specifically for them, and it was harder for bands to really get out there. MTV opened the door for that. They allowed local bands or small bands or even nobodies put videos on MTV just to get their name out there, and it really helped them in the long run. The only downside about MTV is that they were forced to look at what was good looking. The artists now had to have they had to have a nice look about them, or they had to have a style, or they had to have something that sparked consumers' attentions. Also, what I noticed with the 70s and 80s is most of the bands had some form of gimmick or style. Like, for instance, LL Cool J always wore a hat, like in almost all of his videos, or when he was just singing, or in his pictures, he always wore some form of hat. So that was his gimmick there. Boy George, I think his gimmick was just no one knew if he was a boy or a girl. Like that, in that they're just like, okay, do we like him because he's a boy? Do we like him because he's a girl? We're not sure. His style was very, very different and original. David Bowie was just weird, and that just made people want to watch him because he just wore makeup, did outlandish things. His outfits were insane. So just having some kind of gimmick just made you popular in general, because you're like, oh man, this guy's so weird. Oh, his music isn't too bad either. So they see it, it's basically like judging a book by its cover. You look at the front page and you see, okay, I'm going to try this book because the front page looks good. The Sound of Music is just, when it comes to the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of changes in rock and roll. It went from having R&B to rap to just reggae was introduced. There's just a lot of different changes. But the one thing that I would have to describe about music in the 70s and 80s was that it always had a decent backbeat, and usually there was some kind of chorus that was catchy and easy to remember. So if you didn't know the rest of the song, it was really easy to remember the chorus. That was the main, you're like, oh, okay, I like this song, I know the chorus, it's cool. So that was the main thing. Like, there was a nice backbeat. It usually was pretty repetitive, but it was good music. I enjoyed that genre because that's generally, I mean, I was born in the 80s, but that's still the music I listen to today. So hopefully my presentation didn't run too long. I apologize if it was too many minutes, and thank you, and I'll see you next week.